Captain Ron stuff. Welcome, everybody. This is Fearless Flight Live with our trusted group here. We have back by popular demand Eric Larson, who's actually not playing hooky. He's actually working. You can see that he's out in Honolulu, or where are you at?
Yeah, AE6 in Honolulu.
Okay, cool. And talk about dedication, man. He's got his stuff out and he's sitting there in the terminal so he can be live with us. Dieter up there is, of course, he's live from Toronto. Thanks, Dieter. And Elaine is back with us after a little bit of an absence. Elaine is our trusted, I don't know what you are. You're a technical helper and all that, all around good person. So.
Chief Aviation Geek.
Yeah.
Yes, resident aviation geek and apprentice technical officer.
There you go. There you go.
Technical officer, that's correct.
All
And
right.
we definitely have okay, so what are we talking about, Captain Ron, today?
So this is Fearless Flight Live, as many of you know, and we do this every Tuesday night for people who are afraid to fly, people who know somebody's afraid to fly, or other people who are just crazy about airplanes like the rest of us. And this is designed to help you change the way you think. And coming up on tonight's show, we have a poll question we're going to run by you. We have a couple of questions from our viewers, and one of them is going to lead us into the Aviation News Roundup, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the 201 coming up in Phoenix in November, and we're going to talk about the 201 class coming up in don't tell me, in the Los Angeles area over there on the 26th of this month. So get signed up if you're anywhere near that, and come see us in the class. If you're not a member of Facebook, our Facebook page, please go over there and sign up and give us a like. And then also, if you are, I'm going to.
Are we hearing the Honolulu airport background here?
Eric, mute your.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
need me to mute?
Yeah, because we're picking up all the noise from the overhead speakers there.
Oh,
Okay.
man, maybe I should sign up. Yeah, I'll mute. Hang on.
Well, that didn't
It's
help.
coming through the phone, Ron.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Let's move on to the poll question.
Okay. So we have a poll question tonight. When you see something like this headline, this is a real headline. We're going to talk about it a little bit tonight. What's the story that you tell yourself when you see a headline like this? And here at Fearless Flight, we help you change the story that you tell yourself about flying. And until you can change the way you think about flying, you're going to be troubled by all those things that happen.
Hey, Ron,
Yeah.
should I hang up?
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
we love Captain Eric's dedication and enthusiasm.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I can't. You should be able to mute your phone.
Well, his micro, yeah, he would have to mute his cell phone as well. So
Yeah, just
Eric,
mute your
if you hear us and if you figure out how to mute your cell phone, just come on back.
Yeah. Well, we'll bring it back. We'll bring it back in just a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
And we have a special guest tonight too. We have Randy Hall that's going to come and join us here in just a minute. And Randy has a really, really cool story about his history with Fearless Flight, and he has a surprise ending or a surprise middle, I guess, because he's not at the end. And I think you'll all enjoy it. What he experienced.
But before we get to Randy, I wasn't on last week, so I want to make sure that we let you know that we have resurrected a study, a research survey that we did in, when was it? 2004, Ron? That you
2004, yeah, and
my God, yeah.
we have repopulated that. We've given new life to it, and we wanted to update it.
And so we would like you to head over to flf.link/survey and help contribute to to the survey. Find out what other fearful flyers are struggling with, and contribute to the body of knowledge that will help us advocate with other industry players, airlines, mental health providers, that the problem that we're really facing with fear of flying.
Yeah, there's a lot out there
Yeah.
about the nature of fear flying, but there's not much out there about what works and really one-to-one contact with people. And I first found this out in 2004, and we got a lot of great data about that. And you know how I give credit to you, the fearful flyers out there. You're really the ones that have helped guide me to help you. And this is just another effort to kind of update that. And just overnight, we had 29 people completed. So we're looking to up those numbers. We'd love to get it up to 1,000 if we could. It's really interesting. It takes about 10 minutes, according to the average time that people have taken. There's 30 questions in
Very
this,
short. Yeah.
and some demographics in there. But I think you'll find it interesting. And we got a bonus for you if you do it. And do we want to tell them that, Dieter? What the bonus
Sure,
is?
but you know what, Elaine, you completed the survey, correct?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Was it pretty simple and straightforward? I mean,
It was so straightforward, and I don't even think it took 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It just went very quickly, and the questions, easy to understand, easy to read. They're very straightforward, and you can answer on a scale, multiple choice, however, just click, 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 and you're done. And it's valuable knowledge. So I would encourage everybody to go ahead and take it. Just grab a few minutes on your lunch break or whatever, and just go ahead and take the survey. I think it'll really help with the body of knowledge surrounding the fear of flying.
And when we get done, we'll be updating that. We're going to hold it open for a while, and we'll give you some updates on it and some information on there. We'll be using it from time to time in the live show, and then we'll have a report when we shut it down later on. So get out there and take that, and help us help you.
Okay. All right. So let's get Randy Hall. Randy,
Okay.
if
Randy,
you can hear us.
I can hear you guys. Can you
All
guys
right.
hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put your
we're
video
just
on
gonna.
and face the music.
Yeah, I just sent you a start. There you go. Perfect.
There you go.
All
Hey,
right.
hey, I'd like to welcome Randy. Randy, how long ago has it been when you and I first met?
Oh, gee. I think we met sometime back in 2014 or something. And I think it was after the Malaysian flight disappeared.
Okay,
And-
okay, yeah. So that would be 2014, and just tell everybody a little bit about where you started at with your fear flying and what you've gone through to get here today.
Well, I mean, I basically went through a very stressful period in my life, and and I was under a lot of stress, and I had some friends talk me into going to Cabo San Lucas. And we were down there, and we did basically like an all-night drinking thing, and then got up, and we flew back from Cabo, and just the combination of being hungover and not having a lot of sleep, and then all the stress in my life, some negative feelings got associated with flying that were just from other areas in my life.
Yeah.
And-
So it kind of spilled over and all kind of got to what's the word I'm looking for? A pivotal point all at the same time.
And I had a lot of stuff going on. I mean, I was moving to a different city. I was changing jobs, starting a new job, and I had a relationship that was failing, and I had opened a business with some friends, and there was actually a flood. So I was having a financial catastrophe as well. So I had like 5 or 6 major stressors. And so, taking off to Cabo San Lucas and then doing a night of drinking and flying back was probably not the smartest choice I could have made.
Yeah, we talk about that in the book, and it was interesting. I was looking through the first results in the survey today, and a high percentage of people report that it was not just flying, but there were other stressors in their life and I think flying is a convenient place to displace a lot of anxiety and fear, because there is a kind of a mystique about flying and all that. So what was your history with us, with Fearless Flight?
Well, I mean, so one of the things that I always warn people is when you have a fear of flying, it's very easy to develop a pattern of like procrastinating and avoidance.
Yeah.
And one of the issues with like getting over your fear of flying is, unlike other events in your life, there isn't a deadline. So you have this like deadline-less thing that you want to do. And I recommend this YouTube video by Tim Urban, not Keith Urban, but Tim Urban, that's about procrastination. And in the end of this, he talks about a lot of people where they wanted to do things like start businesses,
Yeah.
or get out of a bad relationship, or conquer your fear of flying. And because there wasn't a deadline, they procrastinated for years and years and years. So basically, I came a couple times, and then I procrastinated for several years and didn't.
And
really
when
do
you said
anything.
you came a couple times, you meant you came to the 101 class here at Sky Harbor Airport, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you would come, what was did it have an effect on you, or just, it obviously wasn't time yet, but what was it like when you came to the class at that time?
I mean, the class was helpful, and the class had benefits, but I mean, the biggest thing to me is I wasn't really ready to take the steps necessary to move forward. In order to get through this, I mean, you are going to have to, make yourself uncomfortable and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And that's part of the reason why it's so easy to procrastinate. It's like, yeah, I just don't feel like it today. I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it next month or next week. And then before you know it, several years have gone by.
Yeah.
So,
And a lot of people say that, they just aren't there yet. And they just keep putting it off. So what was it was there a catalytic event that finally moved you off dead center and got you going?
So there was a little bit of a catalyst as I went to my 30-year high school reunion, and at the reunion there was a memorial table of the people who died, and I thought, wow, my life's kind of slipping away. I really don't want to like die this way. There's so much life to be living, and that kind of stuff. And so that's when I think that's one of the things that really decided for me to get going. Is like, I don't know how much time life is, how much time I have left. And I wanted to take some actions.
Good. The pressure was on. I was afraid that, were going to say you met me and I was so much older, and you said, man, I ain't going to end up like him. So what was the next thing that you did?
Well, so one of the things that I recommend to people is it's not like you can just fly one time,
right,
and it's over. It's not like a one-time deal. So I booked flights 5 weeks in a row, and I kind of did what I kind of nicknamed it the Block 5. So I flew 5 weekends in a row, which I think yeah, so I had flown with the class.
Yeah.
And then I flew after the class, and the weekend after the class, and I still wasn't, like over it. So that's when I came up with this idea of, okay, I'm just going to book travel, and I'm going to travel like 4 or 5 weeks in a row. And I did that 5 weeks in a row, and that was pretty much like the end of it.
Yeah. And you're you've shared with me that, you're more of a private person, and trying to find opportunities to put yourself in front of the public is not the highest priority on your list. But I'd like to just say that, you really provide some really, really, really insightful presentations when you come to the class. And I think you're coming to the class this Saturday in Phoenix again. But
Sure.
And tonight, and because one of the big things is to connect with other people. That's a very, very important part of our resilience, is the ability to engage with other people. So I just wanted to compliment you on that. So how many times have you flown now, would you say? Not counting the one we're going to talk about, the surprise that we're going to tell everybody here in a minute.
So I actually, it's going to sound like I made up this number, but I went and I checked, and I have flown exactly 100 times.
Holy
So
cow.
it sounds like, and I actually have here, this is my
Your
this is
credit
my,
card.
no, that's my
Oh, yeah.
Southwest
Your
Southwest
frequent flyer.
A-list card. So if you work hard, actually I probably shouldn't have my rapid rewards number on there, but oh well. But if you if you work hard enough and you get that A-list card, I guarantee you won't have any fear of flying left.
Cool. And then you have, we saved the best part for last.
And I've had this card 3 years in a row. I mean, basically I got it in 2017, and I'll get it again this year.
So people have asked me, over the years.
Well, before you do that, I was going to just add two little things. So I think that the pivotal shift was a change in my attitude. Well, there were two things. There was a change in my attitude where, rather than avoiding uncomfortable situations, I would seek them out.
Yeah.
And so that was the first thing, is I would look for any situation that made me uncomfortable, and I would put myself in that uncomfortable situation. And then I also sometime early, like late 2016, early 2017, I started like the daily meditation habit. And the meditation made a lot of big changes, which I think are worth telling people about. I mean, even I'm trying. I mean, it has made a lot of difference with like losing weight and dealing with pain and fear of flying, like being uncomfortable. Like the meditation has really made a big difference, and it's hard for me to not go on like a 20-minute monologue on that. So I'll just leave it at that. It's like the meditation.
Yeah. Okay. But I would like to. That's a big part of my recommendation for people too. Can you kind of put it in a nutshell what meditation was for you? Because there's a lot of myths out there that meditation is to calm yourself. Meditation is to quiet your mind. Meditation is to do that. How would you characterize it?
The analogy that I like to use is that, like, you can be sitting in a movie theater watching a movie, and you're so engrossed in the movie that you're not aware of the theater, or that there's people around you, or people eating popcorn, or whatever. Like your consciousness is in the movie, and that's the way our minds are a lot of time through the day-to-day life, is we're in this movie and we don't really think about that. Through meditation, you get the ability to pull yourself out of that movie and focus on the surroundings, which can be like what your body's doing, like you're breathing, or how you're sitting in a chair, or maybe if you're walking, like even the air going on your, going across your face or your arms or whatever as you're walking. So you're able to be conscious of focus on like the now and the moment. And this allows you to like stop worrying and I've never really been a fan of dental work, like haha, who is?
Yeah, me either. Yeah.
And I was getting some dental work done, and a lot of times with pain, there's a certain amount of like anticipatory anxiety about, well, what's coming? Like, am I going to be able to handle it? Like, what's going to happen? And so I use these meditation techniques, and I was just focusing on the moment and what was happening in that moment, and it actually was very successful. So I found the meditation, like invaluable. I've used a couple of the meditation apps, and I've had 1,000 days in one, and I've switched to a new one, and I'm about 320 days in
Very
that
good.
one now.
Very good. Yeah, that's a great analogy. I may borrow that from time to time. Yeah, to me, it's you become an observer of your own life. So you step back, you see, now you can see this person watching the movie, you know, but you can see a lot of other things around there, but that's a great help there. Okay, so we kind of saved the best for last. A lot of people ask me, you know, should I learn how to fly? Should I learn how to solo or whatever, you know? And you obviously were interested in aviation. I think you were at least had a fascination. You certainly ask a lot of questions. That's the other thing I wanted to compliment you on. You and I had a lot of conversations, a lot of coaching calls, and a lot of discussions, you know. And I think the thing that you represent most to me is perseverance. And you just didn't quit. But then tell everybody what you decided to do as a result of this newfound freedom. Well, maybe not as a result of it, but to complement it.
Well, I mean, so they kind of went hand in hand. So, I mean, part of the reason why I have 100 flights is because after getting over this, like I've just been traveling around and having fun. So I was actually in Hawaii like 2 weeks ago, and then I had to do a back-to-back trip to DC. So that's part of it.
And we're gonna bring up on the screen there. Randy sends me a lot of pictures from his flying experiences. Well, we haven't even said what the whole deal is. You're a pilot now yourself.
Yes, I am a pilot. I'm not as qualified as Eric or yourself, but yeah, I can fly a single engine.
But you haven't really seen us firsthand, so don't be quick to put yourself down there. But anyway, so I picked a couple of pictures here, and I wanted to pick ones with the wing in it. So who's this flying this airplane, and where are you at?
This is me, and the valley that you see between those peaks is actually where they filmed Jurassic Park in Oahu.
Oh, cool.
So. Yeah, and you can go back there. They have a ranch. You can take tours of the, you know, I think some of the sets are still there, and you can do zip linings and some of that stuff. It's a very beautiful area.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your, your transformation into a pilot from a fearful flyer.
Well, I mean, it started out as kind of a silly idea. I mean, I had a friend of mine. He's a pilot for American Airlines, and he took me for a ride, and I just had so much fun, and so I just wanted to do it again and again. And when I started, I don't know, it's like, am I really going to finish, or what's going to happen? And I just kept going, and then we got to, it got to different milestones. Like we had to do the solo, like I had to do the solo, and then there was like the cross countries, and it just, and then that was like preparing for the check ride. And so it just kind of, in the harmonizer, there's a little thing about, you take risk and you get used to taking more risk and bigger risk, and that has like a cumulative effect. So it just was kind of a cumulative journey, and it's like, wow, I did that.
Yeah. And when did you solo, and when did you finally get your license?
I soloed on January 1st of this year, 2019. And then my check ride, I think, was on May 9th.
So yeah, you got after it. Yeah.
So and a lot of it was fun and taking rides and stuff, but I think I did a lot of the work I did between I think November and December and January, and I think I did the solo cross countries in March.
Yeah. And what was there, soloing is something I remember when I first soloed and all that. But what was there a particular highlight about that? I mean, it's all magnificent.
So I mean, a lot of people don't probably realize this, but like when you get your driver's license, when you drive the car, you can't really drive by yourself until after you get the license. And with the pilot license, it's actually the opposite. You're actually required to fly a minimum of 10 hours before you're actually eligible to take the check ride test. And so, and there are certain things you have to do, like you have to land a certain amount of time at airports with control towers, and you also have to do these cross countries where you fly somewhere far away. And so those were all big, exciting moments, and exciting. And I remember like the first couple times you solo, obviously you're flying around the local airport in the airport, but that happens so fast. There's not a lot of time to think about anything else other than focusing on what you're doing. But there was the time where I think I went from Chandler basically to Goodyear, and I remember leaving the pattern and thinking, wow, this is happening, and I pointed the plane west and flew out, and basically kind of along where they're building the new stretch of the 202, and then into Goodyear, and I landed in Goodyear and was taxiing there back to take off, and I'm like, wow, I'm at another airport, and I'm sitting in a plane, and I got to fly this plane back to get home. So that was
there are so many milestones when you get your license and all that, and that for the people who are outside the Phoenix area, that's about probably about a 30-minute flight from Chandler to
closer to 15.
15, yeah, but and that's what you do. It's a milestone concept, baby steps, and you do that. Well, I want to congratulate you and thank you once again for showing up in life, let alone here tonight for us, and sharing your story with others out there. You like so many people, you've become a good friend, and you insist on buying me lunch, and that's something I'm never going to turn down. But
and you insist on eating it.
Exactly. Yeah. But I really want to congratulate you, Randy, for all that you've accomplished, and again, for your perseverance and being an inspiration to other people. And looking forward to seeing you on Saturday night at the class.
All right. Really.
Anyway, you can hang out with us here if you want for a little bit. We're just going to talk about a couple of questions and a little more news, and then we're going to launch off. So thanks again. And I really appreciate you showing up tonight. So,
all right. You're welcome.
So we had our question come in from a viewer via Messenger, and she said, "Captain Ron, the niceties. Hey, we're so grateful for you and all that." And she was literally, I didn't realize this was the day before she was flying, and they had a flight to Cancun the following morning, and she was having trouble sleeping because of something she saw on the news, and hence our poll question that says, what happens when you see headlines in the news like the one tonight that we're going to talk about, where it said, unusual cracking is detected on a Boeing 737 next generation aircraft. So I'm going to bring Eric on here. The story is not the crack. Okay, we're going to give you some details if I can get Eric back in here. The story is not the crack that they detected on the 800s. Yeah, that's important, and yeah, we want to know what's going on. We want to know that there are people responsible for doing that. But the story here, relative to you all as a fearful flyer, is what's the story you tell yourself? And I'm hoping that we're getting some comments or some posts on our Facebook page or maybe on YouTube, because we want to. Oh man, there's even got them up there. Okay, I tell myself to read up on it. Great idea, Heather. Great idea. Okay, so more education, find out the details on that, and find them from reliable sources. Don't stick to the newspaper paper alone or the media accounts there. Okay, and there's Tracy. That's more typical. I think the plane is going to fall apart under pressure, and we don't even know. I don't even know. And if we can get Eric back on here, we can talk about the research that he did on this. But this happens from time to time. How many have a crack in some part of your car right now? You probably never know it. And whereas at least in airplanes, we have a process for regular, routine, and preventative maintenance. So that's how we detect these things. Jim down there, always a great time to see Jim on there. Gee, I'm glad I'm flying on an Airbus while they sort this out. A little bit of Jim's humor in there, but a little bit of truth too. So one of the things that has triggered all this interest in airplanes again is obviously just coming up on a year ago, we had the first crash over there in Indonesia with that 737-800 MAX, and then one just 3 months later with an Ethiopian airliner. And what this says, you can see the note at the bottom there. They had a recent inspection, and workers found a severely cracked pickle fork. I have no idea what a pickle fork is on a Boeing 737 NG. And it says, while the plane is relatively young, having logged about 35,000 flight cycles, a flight cycle is a takeoff and a landing. And so it isn't necessarily a flight hour when they found the damage. And so when we find this, then the good news is we put an alert out and we get the word from everybody. Or we get the right people looking at that. So again, so the thing that I want to focus on is I want you to know that it's not the crisis that you might normally want to think, and it's the story that you tell yourself, which is the same problem that underlies all fear of flying. It's not what happens, but it's the story you tell yourself about what happens that makes a difference. So we'll bring you more updates on that. Hopefully we'll get the sound issue worked out with Eric in the future there, and he won't
Are
be.
you still there, Ron?
Oh my God, here he is. Yeah.
I was waiting for you to stop.
Oh well, that'll never happen. So
Right.
chime in.
Can you see me?
No.
Okay. Well, at least you can hear me. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
If the ambient noise gets too bad, I'll just hang up.
Yeah, right now it's good.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why the phone thing's so frustrating. Nevertheless, yeah, there are 7,100 of these planes in service.
Okay.
And they found this cracking in this device that they use to secure the wing, partially used to secure the wing to the plane body. But like I said, it was 23 of these airplanes on very high cycles. And as you mentioned, okay, here goes the overhead. As you mentioned, a better way to measure airplane wear is cycling. Start it up, heat it up, take a flight, pressurize it, unpressurize it, come down, land. And these were very high cycle freighter airplanes that they found this stuff on.
And let me just emphasize that for the people out there. So what Eric is saying, these are airplanes that had a lot of cycles. So they've been in service for quite a while, and they were freighter airplanes. That means they're used for cargo, not passengers. Go ahead, Eric.
So the FAA has said, okay, the one they found the severe cracking on had over 30,000 cycles, and they said we're going to. It didn't even rise to the level of an emergency airworthiness directive. They have what's called a service bulletin.
Yeah, and an AD for those of you out there unfamiliar with that, that's like a recall on your car. Okay.
So they said if you're a high cycle airplane over 22,000 cycles, we suggest you inspect this part within a month.
Yeah.
If you're less than 22,000 cycles, just do it within a year on your next heavy check. So they were worried about it, look for it, but not worried to the extent where, oh, we need to recall the airplane, we need to ground it, we need to do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not as bad as people would imagine in their head.
It's not as bad as the headline. That's the point
Right.
that I think is worth making here, because the headline is to generate interest and grab your attention and help your your fearful flyer, your survival instinct, hijack your rational thinking. So we had a couple of good responses there. You know, you get more information, okay, and it is what it is, and that's all we need to talk about as far as that tonight. Anything else on that in particular, Eric?
No, that's a fairly simple deal. We'll continue to see what happens as they inspect further, but neither Boeing nor the FAA is obviously extremely worried about right now action on all these.
Yeah, and they were freighters. So unless our audience here is going to put themselves in a box and ship themselves from point A to point B, you won't even be affected by it. So, okay. Thanks, Eric, and have a safe flight there. And if you hang in there, right now there's no noise out there, so that's pretty good. Let's move on. Dieter,
actually, yeah. So, Ron, let me just pull something up here because we got a couple questions.
Okay.
And hold on, I'll let you talk about it in a second.
Okay. Can you see the screen still, Eric?
Yeah, I'm getting you guys.
Okay, cool.
That's perfect. Okay, so we had a question. There we go. Dina Findus Hardwick. I probably butchered that name. I apologize already. We got a question that she wants to find out more about the Air Hollywood class on October 26th. And I think that's a great segue, given the fact that, you know, these things are in the news. There are things that are coming up for those of us who are afraid to fly. And if you are anywhere in or close to the Los Angeles area, we actually have a class for you that you could attend. So do you want
Think
to
about it.
talk?
Yeah, here's what this class is. You got me, you got Eric, you got 2 veteran pilots. We're going to answer all your questions. We're going to talk about your fears. We're going to put you in a realistic environment there. We're going to give you a few surprise shake and bakes in there. And the whole morning is spent in an airline environment, realistic as it is. And then we're going to, for those fearful or fearless souls, going to go with us. Me and my crew are going to go with you, accompany you on a flight. That's the bonus 301 class, if you're interested in that. So you take the 201 class in the morning, and hopefully you'll be ready to go with us in the afternoon. You buy a Southwest ticket, and then you come with us. And there's no tuition on the 301 if you fly with us that day following the 201. We're going to do a pre-flight briefing for everybody. You're going to have all of us around you for in-flight support. It's an experience like none other, and that's the consistent feedback we get from everybody. It's just how great it is to fly with other people. Look at those smiling faces there. And this was after the class. And these are 27 of 29 people who came there with the intention of flying that day. 2 people backed out, but they've since flown, and that's typically what happens. But everybody made it, and not only did they make it, but by the time we got on the airplane and into the air, they were like, well, Eric's got it. He caught him sleeping on the way up to on this day, particular day. I think we went to Vegas, but we're going to go to Oakland on the 26th. So come on down there if you're anywhere in the area. I know we got people that have been coming out of the woodwork this past week, signing up and registering for the class. It is the most fun you can have. I won't say the rest of that, but it's the most fun you can have in and around an airplane. And I know it's hard to believe that you'll be ready, but you will. And it's coming up. It's just today's the 1st, so it's just 25 days away, just over 3 weeks away. And we would love to have you. The more the merrier. And where can they find out about it, Dieter? The show notes for sure.
Yep, there's going to be a link in the show notes, but we also have, if you right here, if you go to flf.link/CFT201-LA, then you will get to the page as well. I do want to, if Eric is still on, there is one more viewer question that we had, and now she framed it as new turbulence. I believe that what that person was referring to is clear air turbulence, and basically the question is, how come pilots, or how come you guys basically don't know that it's there until you hit it? That was more or less the gist of the question. So with that new turbulence, I believe what was meant was clear air turbulence. And why is it so hard to detect? I don't know if Ron or Eric.
Yeah. Hey, so on the way over, did you have any cat on the way over to Hawaii today?
We had a unusually smooth flight. I had the seatbelt sign off for all 6 hours. You don't get that every day. But we had a very benign set of winds, no fronts, no weather systems we were crossing. So there was no sideways or inconsistent lateral movement of the air. And the key is as Dieter said, clear air turbulence. The key is in the word clear. When you hit it, you can't see it. Yeah. And you don't have any clues.
So, in contrast to that, I flew from Phoenix to Philly last Wednesday, and then returned on Thursday. And going up, we had turbulence for except for about 15 minutes. And it was really a great opportunity for me. And I'm going to do a blog post on that, because what it meant was I was sitting there all the way in the back of the airplane, and I just put myself in you all's place out there. I was sitting there looking up there. First of all, we're on an A321, which is a longer airplane, like a 737-800 or so. And you do have a sense of just being in a long tube. And again, the theme tonight is the story that you tell yourself. And I sat there and I said, you know what? If I told myself a story that there's something bad about being in a container and all the way in the back of the airplane there, I could work myself up too. Same way with the turbulence. The one thing that I'm sure Eric would have experienced if had they had turbulence out there, we talk constantly to other airplanes out on the in the airways with us. So certainly when you're over a lot more highly traveled routes, like over the continental US and all that, the way we can see the turbulence, if you will, is we talk to other airplanes, and we're talking through the controllers. So there might be another airplane up here in front of me, and then one back here, but the controller's talking to both of us. And if we ask, hey, you got any reports about turbulence out there, then what they can do is they can talk to the other airplanes who have transited the same part of the sky that we have, and that's how we find out about it. But we literally we can't see it. And that's why it's called clear air cat. And the other kinds of turbulence that we can anticipate a little bit more is the turbulence associated with clouds, particularly with weather systems. But as Eric said, with no fronts and no systems out there going to Hawaii, it's your kind of day out there. So anyway,
Hey,
any other
Ron,
yeah, go ahead.
Can
Go
I
ahead.
add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
The other thing that I will add is that, the pilots do try to find smooth air.
Absolutely.
And I apologize for the dog barking, but when I was flying back from Las Cruces, New Mexico to here, and I was on the radio with Albuquerque Center, and
Yeah.
there was a Southwest flight, and they were looking for smooth air, and they were at 31, and they tried 33, and then they tried 35. So the pilots really do try to find smooth air, but the most important thing to point out is they're doing that for the passenger comfort. They're not doing it because it's going to hurt anything. No. Good point, Randy. And there's a case where Randy was actually in an airplane in a less traveled area. So he talks to the air traffic control for flight following. So he gets monitoring information there, but he can hear other airliners up above him on other frequencies. So it's a great example of how we all work together, and we listen to other pilots out there to get information. So you use your eyes and your ears when you're flying along out there. So anyway, okay.
So, quick question. Again, there we go. It's another viewer question. So Heather is asking, so can you detect wind shear, and are there technological means to detect wind shear? Is that and I know that we should back up and kind of maybe describe wind shear.
Yeah, well, wind shear is something that has come up, and it became a popular expression back in the mid 80s when there were some accidents due to thunderstorms, and they talked about wind shear. So a lot of times reporters talk about wind shear in the context of thunderstorms, and it's that first gust that comes out of the bottom of a thunderstorm. But when you get into the technical nature of turbulence, wind shear is anytime you have one molecule bumping into another molecule and then shearing off or bouncing off each other. Okay, but when it comes to wind shear, literally the wind shear detection system on the airplane, yes, you can. We have technology now. We have a computer that takes air data computer information and it analyzes it much faster than a pilot could, and it looks for the rate of change of temperature for one thing. It looks for the rate of change of the wind flow, and if it meets a certain criteria, then we get two bits of information. We get flight information on our flight instruments that help us position the airplane's flight controls to successfully fly out and achieve max performance. And then another thing is we get an auditory alert. It says wind shear. And if we encounter that anywhere in the landing environment, which is typically where that wind shear detection alerting system is going to be, anywhere in the landing environment, we execute an immediate aborted landing if we were trying to land, and we fly away until the conditions improve, or we go to an alternate airport if it's due to thunderstorms around the airport, which is the nature of it. So wind shear is a particular type of environmental hazard. And that came as a result of accidents that occurred back in the mid 80s, and the investigation and the recommendations from the National Transportation Safety Board afterwards. How many times can you think of 40,000 people dying every year on a highway, and they come out with major recommendations to improve auto highway safety? not very much. And that's why we kill 40,000 people on the highways every year, but nothing like that in aviation. And it's getting safer and safer and safer. And we'll talk about that in the both in the class in in the LA area on October 26th. And we haven't talked about, but we've got another advanced class 201 class coming up in Phoenix on November 9th. So we got 2 classes coming up, one for those of you who'll be in LA and one for those of you who'll be in the Phoenix area here. So, all right.
Hey, Ron.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would inject for 30 seconds on the wind shear question about the technological improvements which you went over the airplane, and mostly because of the low energy state or the transfer from low to high energy of the airplane taking off or landing, that's where we're most vulnerable. And not only does the airplane have all that technology on it that you explained, the airports now have very sophisticated wind shear detection equipment, measuring wind speeds and rate of change at all the airport boundaries, so they can detect that in the tower and warn you prior to takeoff or landing if they have a setup for a wind shear situation anywhere within the airfield boundary. So the airport physically has that detection equipment as well.
Yeah, and there's 3 legs to that protective defensive stool, and that is one, as you said, the airport detection system. The other one is the airplanes detection system, and the third one is crew training. We all have to go through and be certified in identifying and escaping wind shear alert systems there. So, okay, anything else, Dieter?
Well, do we wanna talk about one more viewer question, or we could also talk a little bit more about the 201 class in Phoenix, because we just opened up registration for that, and right now it's a super early bird special on as well for that. So I'm just gonna pull that that thing up here. Can you see that on the screen, or
Not yet.
not yet? All right, so let me just double check here.
Yeah. So again, just to reiterate, we have the LA 201 class coming up on October 26th, and then followed by that in November. Last class, these are the last 2 classes in Burbank and in Phoenix. I've had a lot of coaching calls recently, people not aware of the class coming up in November. It's, again, a great opportunity to come out and get over your fear of flying in one day. Very intensive. You got all hands on deck with Dieter and me and Eric and the whole support team, Fearless Flight support team, working on your behalf to give you all the information you need and the encouragement to get your confidence up in the morning. And then if you choose to take advantage of the bonus, go out with us to the airport, and in Phoenix, we'll be going from Phoenix to, where did we decide? LAX.
LAX, actually.
Yeah.
We're going
to LAX and back. So anyway, so come and see us live if you have it, and for any of those of you who might be on that are coming to the class this Saturday night in Phoenix, the 101 class, we'll look forward to seeing you and meeting you and helping you get on your way there. So, okay. Did you have anything to offer, Elaine, there?
No, great show tonight. I encourage everyone to attend the class in LA on October 26th. I took it last spring. It's an awesome class. The graduation flight is unlike any flight I'd ever been on. It was just incredible, all the way from the folks at Southwest who really went out of their way to make sure that we had a positive experience, to the people on the flight. And yes, the V1 wave, folks, you have to take the flight just to experience that. When we take off and the nose of the plane lifts up, we all yell. We just do like a wave, just like people do in sports. We just go, whoa!
Whoa!
Flight crew thinks we're nuts, but it is so much fun because we do it right at the point of rotation, just as the nose lifts up. And it's really an incredible experience. I would encourage anyone in the LA area to join us if they can. And even if you're not in the LA area, it's worth the drive to join us.
And
Yeah,
until
underway on-
Saturday at midnight, we still have the early bird special on. So if you're thinking about it, take advantage of it. And especially if you want to fly with us, the sooner you register and the sooner you purchase your tickets, the happier you will be. Mostly because the ticket prices go up exponentially
Yeah.
closer to the class date. So
Yeah.
so keep
yeah.
that in mind if you want to fly. And obviously, it is a Southwest Airlines operated flight. So at some point, they will probably sell out. So make sure that you get your tickets. And for anybody who is, because we got a support ticket actually today, for anybody who is worried. So if you are not, if it's not your day to fly, right? So you did the class, you come with us, you and at the airport, at the gate, you go like, okay, I don't think it's my day. We actually coach you in such a way that instead of that trauma being stuck inside of you, basically, that says, oh, I failed again, basically. We're coaching you in such a way that you will be able to take that experience and use it to build upon, as you go forward. Because just like Randy said, it's a journey. It's not something you do once and it's done. It's kind of like, me trying to teach my teenage son personal hygiene. It's like, you don't just shower once and you're done, especially if you play rep sports. You just got to keep doing it. And it's the same thing with meditation and all of these good things. They work when we're working it, and the class is the perfect place to really work it and work with other people. And I think that's what you said, Ron. The social engagement is just powerful. So.
Yeah, the power of a group there. So,
Mhm.
well, with that metaphor, personal hygiene, how can you go wrong? So anyway, thanks everybody. Thanks Randy. Thanks Eric, Dieter, and Elaine, and thanks to you all.
And I want to also make a big shout out to Sue, who is also a volunteer. She's been working hard behind the scenes to not only to make the survey happening, but all sorts of other goodies. She's gonna be at the classes as well. So just because you don't see her on the screen like you see us, doesn't mean that she's slacking. As a matter of fact, I would even guess that she's working harder than all of us. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you.
All right. Thanks everybody. We'll see you back here next week. Fearless Flight Live. Thanks for joining us and have a great week. And if you are flying, happy landings.
All right.
Happy landings.
Good night.